Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Black Bunny Hole. Oh my gosh. Um, Again, welcome to the Black Bunny Hole, where I fuck around so you can find out. This is your captain speaking. This is Sheba. Hi, missed you. I know you're like, wait, Thursday. Thought you were doing like Friday at whatever time I was doing it. And then I was like, maybe that's not a great time to have a show where you want people to come see you live. I think Thursday gives us a little more flexibility. I like the alliterative nature of Thursday at 3. So anyway, that's the new time, Thursday at 3. I'll see you next week. But for now, sorry, new time, I'm like still, getting myself together. Isn't this shade cute? Like a nice little matte thing. Okay, sorry, I'm also like kind of like schwitzing right now, man. It is very hot outside, but also, y'all, I'm a little bit hot today about some like really troubling stuff I've been hearing that I will, I think I'm gonna have to talk about it on Sunday, on Sheba Sunday. This stuff with Sukihana and this nameless rapper who I never heard of until I watched a video of him sexually assaulting a woman. Wild. So anyway, I'm going to talk about that on Sunday. I just wanted to mention it to let you know because it seems like we didn't learn anything from that episode I did about Megan Thee Stallion or Jonathan Majors. Yeah, I guess the Men I Love episode didn't, help us because I am not loving the reaction I've been seeing to this whole incident. So anyway, back to the Black Bunny Hole, where I fuck around so you can find out. Let's see who our person is today. I like have a new like Chiron thing at the bottom. Subscribe for return trips on the Black Bunny Hole. It's now kind of like you can come along on this trip with me if you like. Yeah. So today we are doing. Hold on, Sheba's. Wait. This one over here, and go exit, and then we're gonna go to Wikipedia, and then we're gonna go to Sheba Small. Okay, so today our guest of honor that we are learning about is Marsha P. Johnson. Ooh, beauty. This is a picture that I've kind of seen a lot. Also that other one where she's wearing a flower crown. We'll learn about why she does that later. And I'm gonna probably alternate between she and they and he today. And I think Marsha would be okay with that. All right, let's get it started. I've got some notes that people want to see my face more. So, all right. Marsha P. Johnson. Let's go. Sheba split queen. Big. Yes. Okay, so Marsha P. Johnson was born in New Jersey in 1945. Rough year to be born, to be honest. His name when he was born was, they called him Malcolm Michaels Jr. Sounds like he was named after his padre, Malcolm Michaels Sr., who was an assembly line worker at GM, while his mother, Alberta Claiborne, was a housekeeper. I feel like pretty typical professions, lines of work for Black people in the 40s, Michaels and their 6 siblings were raised in an Episcopal church. Okay, I want to go the religion part later. So he first began wearing dresses at age of 5, but stopped temporarily due to harassment by boys who lived nearby. In a 1992 interview, he described being the, sorry, trigger warning, a lot of sexual assault in this episode. Yeah, he described being the young victim of rape by a 13-year-old boy, which where those kids' parents at? What in the hell? After this, Johnson described the idea of being gay as some sort of dream rather than something that seemed possible. And so he chose to remain sexually inactive until he left for New York at the age of 17. Um, so this is kind of like a, you know, says one thing, says another. So his mother reportedly said that being homosexual is like being lower than a dog, so in quotations. But apparently, Marsha said that his mother was actually unaware of the LGBT community. His mother also encouraged her child to find a, quote, billionaire boyfriend or husband to take care of Johnson for life. A goal Johnson often talked about that. So, all right, who knows? I would like to believe that she was, a rare person who supports their queer child in the 40s, but who knows? Okay, so they went to Edison High School in Elizabeth in 1963, then left for New York with $15 and a bag of clothes, which is so brave. I am so impressed by people who leave wherever they're from and move to New York City. It's just a place that is notoriously difficult to make it in, and I'm just very impressed. Okay, so they waited tables when they moved to Greenwich Village, and then they began hanging out with the street hustlers near the Howard Johnson on 6th Avenue and 8th. After that, their life changed. Johnson came out and said, quote, "My life has been built around sex and gay liberation, being a drag queen and sex work." Love that for them. Hell yes. Okay, so I'm always impressed by gender nonconforming queer people who, survive to adulthood. And so certainly in the 40s. So hell yes, bitch. Makes it to New York City. Finally is able to be I'm gay. I can be myself. So let's go on to their kind of identity. So initially, Marsha used the moniker Black Marsha, but later decided on a drag queen name of Marsha P. Johnson. Johnson comes from the Howard Johnson, the Hojo on 42nd Street. Apparently, the P stood for pay it no mind. So they used this phrase sarcastically, and when they were questioned about their gender, saying it stands for pay it no mind. They once said it to a judge who thought it was funny. They got picked up for street hustling, and the judge was like, "Why are you dressed like that? And why are you hustling?" And Marsha was like, "Pay it no mind." And the judge was amused because judges have a so-so sense of humor. And it led to Johnson's release. Love it. I think humor is going to set us all free. Okay. How he identified. Variably, Johnson identified as gay, as a transvestite, and as a queen, referring to a drag queen or a street queen. According to this professor of human gender and sexuality studies, their gender expression could perhaps be most accurately described as gender nonconforming. But they never self-identified with that term, with the term transgender, but it was also not really in broad use in the 70s. Let's see. Okay, so Sylvia Rivera, it's good friends with Marsha. And this is kind of talking about the different terminology they were using and playing around with. I guess I'll talk about that later. No, I'll talk about it now. Okay, so they discussed being a street transvestite action revolutionary, saying a transvestite is like a boy, very manly looking, a feminine boy. Marsha distinguishes that from transsexual, defining transsexuals as those who are on hormones and getting surgery. So they were also talking about the experiences of the dangers of working as a street prostitute in drag. I wanted to come to learn more about Marsha P. Johnson for multiple reasons. It's Pride Month, but also last week we did Maya Angelou, who was also a sex worker, and so it's oh yes, Black sex workers I'm inspired by. Let's go to someone else. And so Marsha we landed on. So their style of drag you've kind of seen. Let me see if I can get you a good little picture. Why didn't all of the things save? Let's see. Sorry. Oh, and look at all my stuff. Huh. Let's see. How we doing? I had a lot of these saved, and it just doesn't seem like they did. I don't love that. Um, yeah, I had this great picture of Marsha P. Johnson, but if I don't find it, then we'll just. Oh, it is here. Oh, wait. Is it? Let's see. Um, yeah, I don't know why this hasn't updated, but I do not love it. Let me see one more time. Actually, that's one. There we go. Maybe I'll just go here. Okay, so where's this picture of Marsha that I've seen most often? This is one. That's Sylvia Rivera. I also saw this thing like where this was in like the early 90s or something when Sylvia was talking about um, pride and how it's been co-opted by the corporations and they're like it's not even for us anymore. Which yeah, totally. Yeah, it's real. Um, okay, let's see. This is Marsha P. Johnson Park, which I was interested in the fact that, sorry, this one. Nope, almost. This one. I was like, really cool. They have a park that's named after them, and the stewards of the park are all, a bunch of white people. So, for any black people watching this, let's consider that. Okay, let's see. And all right, let's go back to this. Okay, their style of drag was not serious, high drag or show drag. Is that what you would see on RuPaul's Drag Race? Because she wasn't able to afford or buy clothing from expensive stores, which I get that. I think if I was gonna, I kind of am a drag queen. And my stuff is also would not be considered high drag. I'm gonna go this one. Okay, so they you'll see ones where they have like a flower crown a lot of times. They were sleeping under tables used for sorting flowers in the flower district of Manhattan, and so they got fresh flowers from there and made flower crowns out of it, which is beautiful. Johnson was tall, slender, often dressed in flowing robes and shiny dresses, red plastic high heels, bright wings, which tended to draw attention. Yeah, let's see. There's some existing footage of Johnson doing full glamorous high drag on stage, but most of their performance work was with groups that were more grassroots, comedic, and political. They sang and performed as a member of a drag-based performance troupe, Hot Peaches. It's a drag theater company, and a bunch of different, kind of things. But let me get to kind of where people know them. This is also interesting. Though generally regarded as generous and warm-hearted and saintly under the Marsha persona, Johnson's angry, violent side could sometimes emerge when she was depressed or under severe stress. Some felt that it was more common for this to happen under Johnson's male persona as Malcolm. Yeah. So they probably had bipolar disorder. It was described as a schizophrenic personality at work. They'd often get into fights and wind up hospitalized and sedated. Friends would have to organize and raise money to bail Johnson out of jail or try to secure release from places like Bellevue, just like the, what do you call it? The not insane asylum, mental hospital, the loony bin. Just kidding. It's not how you're supposed to talk about it. But yeah, it's a psychological mental health hospital. Yeah, because of this, their personality, which could be very generous but also unpredictable and mean, it's been a reason that other activists had been reluctant to credit Johnson for helping to spark the gay liberation movement. Um, Johnson's saintly personality was volatile and listed a roster of gay bars from which Johnson had been banned, which, you know, I've been kicked out of nicer places than, Stonewall. Just kidding. Stonewall's fine. I've been to Stonewall, actually. Have you been to Stonewall? Really? Remember that time we went there? Um, okay, so Johnson was apparently one of the first drag queens to go to Stonewall Inn after they began allowing women and drag queens inside. It was previously a bar for only gay men. And apparently back then in the 90s, in the 70s, I mean, the 60s and 70s, like literally it was illegal to dress in drag. And if you were a man and you dressed in dresses, like people could beat you up. The police wouldn't do anything. The police oftentimes were the people beating you up. You weren't allowed to be in different bars and things. And so Stonewall was previously for only gay men. And I know we like hear that Marsha is like credited with starting Stonewall, but apparently she wasn't there on the first, at the beginning. It had already started, a couple hours before she got there. Maybe an hour or so. And apparently, Marsha and Sylvia had been specifically asked by like the gay kind of organizers who were, involved in it, had asked them not to be there because it was thought that drag queens were going to be harmful to the gay liberation movement. Shows you how there's like hierarchies of freaking treatment, even within marginalized groups, which we'll also come back to on Sunday when we discuss Sukiana. Okay, yeah, so anyway, in the early mornings of June 28th, 1969, the Stonewall Uprising occurred, which, like, look at all these, like, white people in this little picture. While the first two nights were the most intense, the clashes with the police would result in a series of spontaneous demonstrations and marches through the gay neighborhoods for roughly a week afterwards. So Johnson was named along with Zazu Nova and Jackie Hormona, great name, by a number of Stonewall veterans as being three individuals known to have been in the vanguard of the pushback against the police. But Johnson denied starting the uprising. They said that like they got there around 2 a.m. The riots had already started. The building was on fire. I gotta learn about Stormy Delarverie was an American woman known as the Butch Lesbian whose scuffle with police was, according to Delarverie and many eyewitnesses, the spark that ignited the Stonewall Uprising. Yes, bitch. Oh, a New Orleans queen. Okay, I'll have to learn about her too. Okay, so yeah. So I like this story, but it's maybe not true. Allegedly, Johnson threw a shot glass at a mirror in the torched bar, screaming, "I got my civil rights!" Sousa told the Gay Activist Alliance afterwards that it was the shot glass that was heard around the world, which is like a really great line, but is maybe not, really what happened. And apparently, like, Johnson had thrown a brick at a cop. Let's see. However, many have corroborated actually that on the second night, Johnson climbed onto a lamppost and dropped a bag with a brick on it down onto a police car, shattering the windshield. That feels right. Okay, so I kind of like, in my knowledge of Marsha P. Johnson, it feels like after Stonewall, it's like, whoop, kind of like, she did Stonewall, it started the gay rights movement, and, and then fast forward to RuPaul's Drag Race. But apparently in 1970, on the first anniversary of the Stonewall Rebellion, which was a rebellion against police brutality, and love that for them. So they marched in the Gay Pride Parade. One of their most notable direct actions occurred in 1970. They staged a sit-in at NYU. And this was after administrators canceled a dance when they found out that it was sponsored by gay organizations. Because that's how it was back then, and still probably now. You know, if they like think it's anything, you know, deviant or in the minority, they don't want to be brave. So, okay, so shortly after that, Johnson and Sylvia co-founded the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, STAR for short, which was, oh, let me do this, a gay, gender nonconforming, and transvestite street activist organization, which provides like housing and, you know, assistance to homeless trans youth. This was in like 1970. The two of them became a visible presence at gay liberation marches. In 1973, they were banned from participating in the Gay Pride Parade by the Gay and Lesbian Committee, who were administering the event, saying they weren't going to allow drag queens at the marches, claiming that they were giving them a bad name. So it's tough. It's like people seem to really be like, you know, you can be gay, but you got to dress like a man. And it's like, come on, don't you think that cis het people taught us that? But I get it. They were still learning. Fine, 1973. So, this is a thing that they have. Their response was to, after the committee was like, no, you can't march in the parade. You're going to give us a bad name. They defiantly marched in front of the parade. Smart. Which also, I saw recently, like, Lockheed Martin, like, sponsoring a float at Pride. You know they're tricking us, right? They're the arms dealers. Whatever. Anyway. So a reporter asked Johnson why the group was demonstrating. Johnson shouted, "Darling, I want my gay rights now." Actually, I think I have a thing where they say that. Let's see. Is it this? This was that picture I was talking about with the fresh flowers. This is also a really cool quote that they say. Let me see. Can you see it a little bit better? I'll do this. Nope, not really. Okay, I'm gonna read it to you then. History isn't something you look back at and say it was inevitable. It happens because people make decisions that are sometimes very impulsive and of the moment, but those moments are cumulative realities, which, like, I love that because, like, I'm totally also that. I think sometimes I just do a thing because it feels like the right thing to do, and, like, looking back, I'm like, oh shit, maybe it was like, that was impulsive, and I didn't have, like, this idea that it was gonna, you know, have such an effect. But you're right, it's accumulation of all these little things. Let's see, is it this one? This is one where they're like looking a little less femme, but actually still very femme. Yeah, like 70s femme. Let's see, is it? Not that one. This is their voice, if I can, like, I don't know why I can't hear it, but, oh wait, here we go.
Town, and I didn't get downtown till about 2 o'clock, and we were all out there, and Miss Sylvia and Rivera and them were over in the park having a cocktail, because when I got downtown, the place was already on fire, and it was a raid already. The riots had already started, and they said the police went in there and set the place on fire. We just were saying no more police brutality, and we had enough of police harassment in the village and other places. On Alice down the hall.
I like their voice. It reminds me kind of I don't know if you've seen Grey Gardens, or at least the one where Drew Barrymore is playing Little Edie. Maybe that's like a New England accent from the 70s, because I know like several people who are like across a diverse representation of people who sound like that. Okay, so anywho, okay, so during another incident around the 70s, Johnson was confronted. Actually, I think you guys want to see my face a little bit more. Hold on. Perfect. So they were confronted by cops for hustling in New York. When the officers tried to arrest them, Johnson hit them with a handbag which contained bricks. when asked by a judge, oh, they were asked like why you were hustling. Johnson claimed they were trying to secure enough money for a tombstone for her husband. During a time when same-sex marriage was illegal, the judge asked what happened to this alleged husband, and Johnson responded, "Pig shot him." Yeah. Anyway, they were sentenced to jail in that instance, but the judge sent them to Bellevue instead afterwards. Okay, Star House, a shelter for homeless gay and trans youth. They paid the rent. Johnson and Marsha and Sylvia paid the rent with money they made themselves as sex workers. The house wasn't like focused on performance like the balls like you see in Pose, which I only saw the first season of. I have to finish it. But so it wasn't like a focus on performance, even though Johnson was a drag mother. But they worked to provide food, clothing, emotional support, a sense of family. A chosen family for the young drag queens, trans women, gender nonconformists, and other gay street kids living on the Christopher Street docks. So this is kind of going back. By 1966, Marsha was living on the streets, engaging in survival sex. Oh, there's like a good one where she's like, let's see. No, maybe not. Let's see. I found a lot of good stuff on this. Let's see this. No. Dang, man, I had a bunch of great little things, but that's okay. All right. Claimed to have been arrested over 100 times. They spoke of having their first mental breakdown in 1970, which you always remember your first mental breakdown, don't you? So apparently they would walk naked up Christopher Street and be taken away for 2 or 3 months to be treated with chlorpromazine, an antipsychotic medication. Upon returning, the meds would wear off, and Johnson would return to normal, which doesn't really say what like normal is, but between 1980 and 1992, for about 12 years, Marsha lived with their friend Randy Wicker. Oh yeah, I think there's another, there's a little thing about them, who'd invited Johnson to stay the night one time when it was very cold out, and Marsha just never left, which, been there, kinda. Like, I'm someone who, like, will come and hang and just, like, never leave, and you'll love it. You'll fucking love it. Okay. So when Randy's lover, David, became terminally ill with AIDS, Johnson became his caregiver. So Johnson was also HIV positive. He became committed to sitting with the sick and dying, as well as doing activism, street activism with AIDS activist groups. So apparently in 1992, gay bashing was epidemic in New York, which, like, New York, get it together, okay? Real problem with assaulting people. So anti-LGBT violence was apparently at the peak. That year we had 1,300 reports of bias crimes, and 18% of those 1,300 reports were based on violence perpetrated by the cops. It was an unrelenting wave of attacks. So in 1992, they did this sculpture, Gay Liberation, which was moved to Christopher Park as part of the new Gay Liberation Monument. Okay, is it like this, maybe? Yeah. Anyway, Marsha P was like, how many people have died for these 2 little statues to be put in the park to recognize gay people? How many years does it take for people to see that we're all brothers and sisters and human beings in the human race? I mean, how many years does it take for people to see that we're all in this rat race together? Oh, there's a great one too, where Marsha is like getting interviewed and she's like, I refuse to get a job until I get my gay rights. And yeah, I love that. I love that for her. I hate working. Okay. So not long after that, in like July of 1992, um, Marsha was actually found dead. Which I'm surprised that they were alive in 1992, because it kind of like how we hear about it is like Stonewall, and then I think I certainly kind of assumed a lot of people died of AIDS, and we just like don't hear about them. But shortly after the 1992 Gay Pride Parade, Johnson's body was discovered floating in the Hudson. Police initially ruled the death as a suicide, but Marsha's friends and other members of the local community insisted that she wasn't suicidal, noted that the back of Johnson's head had a massive wound in it. And they were found floating in a fucking river. Their suspicious death occurred at a time when anti-LGBT violence was at a peak in New York, including bias crimes by cops. Johnson was one of the activists who'd been drawing attention to this epidemic, participating in protests. He'd been speaking out against the dirty cops and elements of organized crime that many believed responsible for some of these assaults and murders, and even voiced concern that some of what Randy Ricker was stirring up and pulled Johnson into, quote, could get you murdered. And then they were found murdered. Apparently, in like 2012, the NYPD reopened the case, but they, so yeah, in 2002, they reclassified it from suicide to undetermined, and then, this former New York politician, Tom Dwayne, I don't know if you know him, Billy, but he said he fought to reopen the case and was like, usually when there's a death by suicide, the person usually leaves a note. Very true. And she didn't leave a note. So in 2012, it got reopened, but the cops came to the same conclusion, which, like, come on, the cops are not good at solving cases. They only solve like 2% of cases of like serious crimes. That's terrible. And they keep getting more money. Trash. Clowns. And they have the nerve to make fun of Marsha P. Johnson or gender nonconforming people. Clowns. Okay, so religion. Okay. So, blah. Let me go up here. Huh? So in the beginning, let me go up to the top really quick. Yeah, so commenting on her upbringing, Marsha was like, I got married to Jesus Christ when I was 16 years old, still in high school. So like obviously considers themselves, kind of a religious person in that regard. They apparently remained devoutly religious in later life, often lighting candles and praying at St. Mary's, whatever, this Catholic church in Hoboken. In 92, they said, I practice the Catholic religion because the Catholic religion is part of the Santeria of the saints, which says that we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. I mean, okay. So again, Marsha would always would make offerings to the saints and the spirits in a more personal manner, keeping a private altar at home. Marsha would always say she went to the Greek church, she went to the Catholic church, she went to the Baptist church, she went to the Jewish temple. She said she was covering all angles, which I totally get. I do that too. When I like try to manifest and I like talk and I'm grateful, I'm like, thank you universe, thank you ancestors, thank you Jesus, thank you Allah, thank you Satan, thank you Jewish gods, thank you Kali. I'm trying to cast a wide ass net, and I mean, judging by my life, I think it's kind of working. So one of those people is helping me out. Billy asks, why would I know Tom Dwayne? Because you came to DC because you were working with like a councilman, a New York councilman or something. I don't really get how politics work. But anyway, sounds like he doesn't know them. Okay, so Johnson also said, I use Jesus Christ in most of my prayers most of the time. A neighbor would say that Marsha would pray prostrate on the floor in front of the statue of Virgin Mary in the church across from Randy Wicker's apartment. Also, okay, I think this is Randy Wicker. Hold on, can I jump forward in this? Never mind. In that thing that I was just trying to look at and skip forward through, I'm pretty sure it's Randy Wicker, and they're talking about how Marsha P. Johnson is like one of the only living saints. Which, like, I feel like my this like deep dive on her is like not doing her justice. I really want to like learn more. Okay, so apparently, people would find her in the strangest churches. She'd be wearing velvet and throwing glitter, which is what these churches need. A little fucking glitter. A little goddamn velvet. So, Marsha said in 1960, Marsha said about leaving home in 1963, I got the Lord on my side and I took him to my heart with me and I came to the city for better or worse. And he said, you might wind up with nothing because, me and Jesus is always talking. And I said, honey, I don't care if I never have nothing ever till the day I die. All I want is my freedom. I believe Jesus is the only man I can truly trust. He's like the spirit that follows me around, and helps me out in my hour of need. Well, hopefully they learn not to rely on a man. Because they were a bit, trash, certainly in the 70s through 90s. So apparently, like, talked about Neptune, the Roman god of fresh water and the sea. Apparently, while this person who's telling the story was sunbathing in the West Village, Marsha came naked and began grabbing at their shirt, shouting, "My father needs these clothes." Johnson succeeded in pulling Kohler's shirt off and throwing it into the Hudson. Said these were sacrifices to her father and to Neptune, who got all mixed up together. So, interesting. So at the time of their death, apparently Johnson was increasingly sick and in a fragile state, but everyone clarifies that they weren't suicidal. Yeah, okay. And then so apparently they were let me find this. Sorry, I thought it'd be easier to scroll faster. Okay. This is the other activism. Sit and protest. Yeah, this. Stonewall. Act up. Yeah, okay. Anyway. I also wanted to... Okay, so apparently they were part of a photo series that Andy Warhol did. These are those pictures called Ladies and Gentlemen. And I'm sorry, I don't get why Andy Warhol is so famous. He just seems to be taking okay pictures of other people who do interesting things and makes 4 of them. Is that what passes for art in the 60s and 70s? It's just, I don't know. But I am glad that there is this particular piece of art because it's really cool. Okay, so there's that. Let me see. This is the cool history of Pride. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I guess that's kind of, all of those. Darn, I wish those come out kind of better. The Instagram posts, because they're actually really cool. So I would go on Instagram and type in Marsha P. Johnson and see what comes up, because they're a really interesting person. And it's interesting to see how we kind of treat people who later we think of as these leaders of movements. During their life, we treat them really shitty. So maybe we can consider who we treat shitty now and feel that maybe they might be onto something, and maybe we're all taught that we're supposed to treat people shitty, and if other people are doing it, it must be for a good reason. And like, maybe not though. Maybe fucking not. Um, yeah. Should I do a lightning round? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Um, let's see. Oh, maybe I didn't do the thing actually. Let's see. Snash. Never mind. Sorry. Didn't set it up. Okay, then we'll go back to this one. Nope. Yes. Okay, I can do a little thing. What are some things I wanted to know about? What's Hot Peaches? Okay, drag theater company. Cool. Troop culture. Love it. Provide a nurturing queer community a platform for self expression. Love that. Okay, let's see. What else? Also, okay, I wanted to know what street hustlers were. Street prostitution. I wondered if it was like the people like selling bags and like sunglasses and stuff, but okay, that makes sense. Um, that's interesting that they call it that, other than like rather than street prostitution. I wonder why that is. Um, Howard Johnson's. Um, the Hojos, like I think of Howard Johnson because like there used to be one like next to our house that we like never went to, but like one time we went to Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and literally the only like kind of hotel they had was this Howard Johnson. And like me being the bougie person I was like, where are we, parents? What is this? um but now I'm like, okay, that's cool. It apparently was like one of the first places that kind of was like desegregated, so it was a place where black people could stay. But I also might have made that up. But don't I don't want to give a white owned corporation more credit than they deserve. I don't know, too many things. Um, yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, Marsha P. Johnson. What a beautiful person. Let's. This is one of my faves, and I think one that we see a lot with. Apparently, she was gonna be like supposed to be like 73 or 74 this year, which is the same age as my mom, which is so wild. Um, yeah, and so I think we should just come back to this thing. History isn't something you look back at and say it was inevitable. It happens because people make decisions that are sometimes very impulsive and of the moment, but these moments are cumulative realities. Um, yeah, so make sure you are kind of looking for times where you might feel compelled, impulsed to speak up about something. Maybe it's the right thing. Maybe that hesitance and that, oh no, who, me? Or nah, I don't want to cause trouble. Like, cause trouble. Everything's terrible. Come on, we need more people to do that. And maybe you'll be immortalized forever, like Miss Marsha P. Johnson. But, you got a lot of work to do, so who knows? Thank you so much for going on this deep dive with me. I loved learning about Miss Marsha P. And I wonder who I'll do next week. I was thinking maybe of staying in a gay LGBTQ history kind of space. And I was thinking of doing Sylvester. I know. Look that up if you want. But I think that's going to be a good option. Yeah, tell me what your most interesting fact that you learned about Marsha P was. I'm trying to think if there was anything I'd wanted to say about it. No, I think that's kind of it. Yeah, awesome. Interesting person, brave person, powerful person. And super glad to know this. Oh, yeah. Okay, at the bottom it says, keep your hands and feet inside during space travel. Trying to make it kind of like you're my traveling companions. All right. Thank you so much. So fun. I will see you next Thursday at 3. And also Sunday if you want to hear me talk about other things that interest me. All right. Love you. See you later. Bye. Give me 1 second. You get one more look at my beautiful face. All right, and that, and then we go full screen, and then I go that, and then I open this, and then I will see you next week. Bye.